Such a pleasure to meet you, Joy.
It's such a pleasure to be here with you.
I heard, of course, a lot of times your name. And well, that's the great thing. I talked to Roy with this. Even your name, it's
I'm so lucky, right?
Yeah, well.
I agree with you. And you know the fun story about my name?
No, not at all.
So my dad is a nuclear physicist. He's an expert in calculating risk and threats. And my mom is an English teacher. So she is from England. And those two together, when they got married, were told by their doctor that they could not have children. So yeah, then the first page of my baby album, there's this official letter from the doctor saying, really sorry guys, but this is not going to happen. And then I came. So that's why I have the name Joy.
Wow.
And although it's such a beautiful name, it really took me decades to live into it, to own it, to be that.
Okay.
So I think it was God's way.
Did you feel the pressure or?
I didn't feel the pressure, but I did always think there must be something wrong with me, that I'm not as happy as I know I could be, or that I remember being as a kid. So I was so lucky to have grown up in like this picture book environment.
Yeah.
I mean, like the perfect family, the perfect childhood. And then puberty hit. And then I suddenly noticed, wow, I'm not as happy as I was. And then, I don't know, things started going weird. And then, decades later, I only understood that, actually it was one of the lowest points in my life. I was married to my first husband, who was a very successful guy in advertising, very glamorous. We had, again, a perfect life with a lot of luxury. And I basically had,
outside.
Right? I had everything that we were told, that this is what you want, the perfect kids and everything. And I remember driving to my fashion job at that moment that I was passionate about, I loved. And I just remember driving in the car and feeling so fucking depressed that I thought, okay, you know what? If I could just drive my car against the wall and it being over, that would be great.
Oh, wow.
And then I remember catching myself and saying, hey, this is not who you are. What is off, right? And that really set me out on this journey of making my own joy the most important thing.
And what age are we talking now?
At that, I was a young mom, so I would say I was about 27, 28.
Okay. And well, this is a great beginning, because can you take us back to the moment you found the key? I don't know if it's really like one moment, but...
I like that you say it could be more, right?
Yeah, of course.
And I think it is a collection of keys. It's these treasures that I then discovered, that my passion and my skill to just learn, to just always want to be growing, was actually the part that was part of the path, to just keep collecting the things that did work, that I noticed would bring change, and then share that. And so this sort of puzzle piece came together to what I'm doing now, of making that my main mission, of helping others access it.
What gave you the first, glimpse of light? What gave you inspiration to not...
It wasn't light, it was the commitment.
Yeah.
The thought that followed that thought was, you could not do this to your kids. And I was like, I can't. This is just not a way out. No. So if there's no quick, right, I'm going to just leave and go, I better figure this out. And then it was really applying everything. And I'd been following all these wacky courses ever since I was 18.
Okay,
so I was actually studying law, studying all these fancy things. But my main passion was learning how to find water with a Wünschelrute, those tensors, where you find water in the ground and you tell people where to dig wells.
Okay.
I was into witchcraft and card readings, but I was always do it secretly, because I knew it was going to be really judged, especially by my family, who were mainly scientists and doctors.
Of course, yeah. So this is great, because I talked with Roy about intuition, and then of course he came up with your name. You wrote a book about it, how to use your intuition to change your life. And my question always is, in this podcast, how to train your intuition. And I know it's a really weird question, because it's not like a muscle.
Oh, it is.
Okay, that's what I would like to hear.
It's a muscle. It's not a gift. It's something we all have. So it's more about the question of, how do I tune into it again? How do I learn to listen? How do I learn to see? How do I learn to recognize that, oh, this is intuition?
Yeah.
Because we all have it. But you see, intuition is such a subtle energy. And if we're really busy and distracted and so caught up and maybe even stuck in our minds, then we're not going to be aware of those little hinges and, you know, those hints that
How would you
intuition will
describe
give us.
at first, because you wrote in that book, you talked about 5 steps, and I definitely wanted to talk about that. But first, what do you think, what is intuition?
Well, intuition is the ability to know what you need to know when you need to know it.
Yeah.
And you and not needing rational justification for that. You don't feel the need to analyze it. You just know.
Yeah.
So it's a knowing.
So it isn't like an emotion or feeling.
It can be, well, you see, it depends on how we process information. We all have the same channels for processing and gathering information. And those channels are the same for all humans, but depending on our history, our training, our conditioning, we will usually use 1 or 2 channels primarily. And that means that all the other channels, the other 2, or actually we have more, then kind of shrivel up, rather like our pineal gland. If you don't use it, it's not going to be used. So first step that I teach is to always elicit your preferred channel of information. So we have auditory, things we hear. We have the visual channel, things we see. We have the feelings in our body. That's the kinesthetic channel. But then we have an interesting channel called auditory digital. And there isn't much research about it because it's the conversation that's in your head. Right. But how many conversations do we have in our head, right? How many different voices? So and then we have, of course, gustatory, olfactory, you know, all the other senses. But those are the 4 primary ones. So the first step is to elicit what is the channel that I receive information in easiest. And for me, for instance, it's kinesthetic and auditory digital. They're the same strength, all 3. And here's the fun thing. When I was doing all these spiritual courses and all this expansion of awareness, the main thing that really frustrated me was that I was not seeing stuff. I couldn't see auras. I did an aura seeing course. I was the only one. I think I couldn't see anything. So I got really frustrated about it. And then later on, when I was doing NLP, I took the test and I said, well, of course, that makes sense. Because before I see it, I will know it, I will hear it, I will feel it. So it's often just about noticing what you do notice. Yeah. And then once you hone those channels in, you can train the other ones. So once I recognized that and did more training and you just started practicing, it's just practicing, then, you know, the visuals get really strong too. And now I get visual downloads of what a house should look like, what a layout should look like, what a logo should look like. I might not have the skills to draw it up, but I can see it. Yeah. But it was the last channel that would open up.
But you say you can train all those?
Yes, everybody can. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. And it should be trained in schools. This is what we should be teaching our kids. Just imagine if all children had access to that highest wisdom, because that's what it is.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so according to Albert Einstein, to quote a famous one, intuition is the highest form of intelligence. And not only Albert Einstein says that, but also, you know, Forbes magazine, all these actually CEOs and business people who are always interested in hiring the right people. I mean, how do you know who the right person is?
So when you say highest form of intelligence, or Einstein said, you mean like in the universe or
Right? What is intelligence? Yes. Some people would say God is the source, the intelligence, the love, whatever you want to.
Yeah. Okay, but well, let's play if we are in class right now. I'm a little child, and explain me in you have mentioned the 5 steps how to train my intuition.
Okay, so let's assume, so you're 5 years old, would that do?
Yeah, that's great.
So say you're a 5-year-old.
Oh, I want to be 5 years old again, because
you're
then I'm so pure.
Aren't you? And you're having so much fun in life, and life seems so easy.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's assume, Heel, you're 5 years old, and we're sitting here, and we're in playgroup.
Yeah.
And we're just having this real nice chat, and you're like, did you have a superpower? Because you're a young boy, right? You want superpowers. And I say, you know what? I have the best superpower for you. And that is the power to know what you need to know when you need to know it. Anytime, anywhere. What would you say?
Well, I think, to be honest, I would like to say I already have that. Because
right? And most likely when you were 5, you might well say, I'm invincible.
Yeah, but okay.
So,
but
maybe
I will say I definitely want that superpower.
You want that, cool.
Yeah.
So once I have your yes, I'd say, well, are you interested in knowing how to do that? And then I guess I'd get another yes. So now I have the willingness, we have the rapport, we feel safe with each other. Then I would tell you, I would say, okay, so why don't you just close your eyes and just focus on your breath. Just take a real deep breath in and then close your eyes and then just let everything go that's going on right now and see if you can find your center, that place inside of you where there's stillness, where you're just feeling good. Can you feel that? Right? And from that space, you can literally create anything that your heart desires. So go find your heart and then notice how much joy and love is in that heart and how much your heart is supporting this idea of yours. And are you getting a yes from your heart?
Yes.
Cool.
But this is a great thing because I'm now really like 5 years old in my So just remember those dreams you had as a 5-year-old, because you're now 5, right? Yeah.
So time is an illusion. So you're 5 years old, you've got these dreams. So now go to your happy place. And now your happy place and give you 3 options. So with your next breath, just imagine going to either a pyramid in the middle of the universe and it's filled with rainbow colors. Or you could go to a castle in the sky where you're the king. Or you could go to some magical place, a nature garden or something, and then just tell me where you go to.
Oh, definitely the first.
Yeah, the pyramid?
Yeah,
okay, so
with all the colors.
So go float inside that pyramid and know that this is your happy place. And it's also a really special place to download any superpowers, anything you need to know, anything you want to do, any courage, confidence, trust. And just imagine that while you're in this pyramid, it's just all happening for you right now. And then inside of yourself, you could say, yeah, so it is, so it shall be, or something even better. And then come back in the here and now and tell me how you feel.
Yeah. This is such a powerful exercise. This is great. And it's of course, I think you're right. Children should learn this on school. But it's never too late. That's what I'm feeling now. Because if you are thinking about how you feel as a child and then do the things, silence, when you're a little bit older, you have to say no. That's step 2.
So step 1 is step out of the buzz. Just find that silence, make time for yourself, get off your screens, get off all those outside things that want stuff for you. Step 2 is learn to say no and say no in a graceful way. You know, no thank you is a complete sentence. So especially for kids, I feel it's really important to learn boundaries from an early age on and to notice, you know, where do I feel safe? Where do I no longer feel safe? And to teach them, say no, it's okay, say no, right? And then
but in a grateful way, that's great.
In a graceful way,
Grateful,
And then I always say, you know, when you go on this journey, so you're saying, okay, I'm going to make time for myself. I'm stepping out of the buzz. I'm saying no. What's the next thing? You will have people who will not like that. People say, why do you not have time for me now? But I need this now from you. So there will be conflict and you'll notice the maybe the people or the situations that have you feeling that they have the control. But it's an illusion. So the next step is to forgive. And to forgive and to learn to release. That's this non-attachment. It's learn to be in the moment. Let's just release the past.
And is it like forgiving yourself?
As well.
Yeah.
It's always a 2-part thing.
Yeah,
it's ourselves and the other. Because we've got to forgive ourselves for having said yes to it and not realizing. And then the other for causing us pain, which we basically created for ourselves. And the whole thing about that step is that I know, because forgiveness you'll find in every self-help book in some way. But I think, at least my feeling was that this forgiveness process has always been taught as such a painful, tedious, and long-lasting thing. And that's just not true. I think there again, it's really teaching practical tools like embodiment, like play. If you have 6 minutes, here's a tip. If you have 6 minutes and you need to release something, you need to forgive, then you're going to have 2 primary emotions, and that is grief and anger. Now, grief is a lower vibration than anger, so anger will feel kind of better than grief, which is why some people stay stuck in anger. They will not go into grief because they're just, no, I'm going to stay mad because that's better. So we have those 2 sister emotions to clear, and a really cool way to do is to go to a safe place, maybe a mat on the floor or a carpet, and then you find 2 songs. One that gets you really angry and the other one that gets you really sad. And then how long is a song? Maybe 3 minutes?
Yeah.
So you take 6 minutes, you lock the doors, you tell people, do not worry about me, any sounds you hear, it's all good.
All good.
And then you channel your 2-year-old self. And you go on that mat, and for those 6 minutes, you first go through the anger and you just let rip. You let all that rage, all that resentment, and you move it through your body. So your only job is to keep moving. You stay on your mat and you behave like a 2-year-old having a tantrum. So you're going to be punching your fists, you're going to be kicking your legs, you're going to be rolling on the ground, you're going to be making sounds, and you totally go for it for 3 minutes. And then you do the grief, and then you just rest. And it'll feel like you've been in a spring rain, and it's just because the body has released it. Exactly. So it's not just up here. You've got to physically release it.
Wow. Great. Yeah. Great tip. Okay.
So that was step 3.
Yeah.
And then step 4 is owning your desires. So,
and that sounds a bit like...
No.
Yeah. Owning it. Yeah.
So what is your deepest desire?
Yeah. What is my deepest desire? To feel that I'm welcome.
So you are welcome. That's it?
Yeah.
So now if you were my client and if we were working together, I'd really invite you, and I wouldn't invite you, I'd like push you
we'll do it.
To go deeper and deeper and give me that juicy desire, because this is usually then when people come up with, I don't know, I want to be on a yacht in the Caribbean, and I want to take 10 kids with me, and I want to feed them, and then this passion comes up, and they say, that's what I really want. If I knew I couldn't fail. So do that. Okay. If you knew you couldn't fail and you could have anything you wanted, what is your deepest desire? And describe it to me as if you were making a film. Yeah. And it's a snapshot.
Okay. Well, then I'm happily in love with what I am now, but I will be a father. I will have a lot of children, and I will send love all day. I will inspire people all day.
Okay, so now stop. Make it even more powerful. You're doing great. You're saying, I am a father. Okay, I have all these kids. Present. I am so in love with this. I'm affirmation this thing. And then you're in the moment.
Okay.
And that's the difference between a wish, of course, and a real heart's desire. And when we claim those heart's desires, we have to be able to name them. Because if you can't name something, you can't claim it. No, okay. So it stays sort of 5D, sort of like a cloud. So we bring it in and we claim it. We say, this is what I desire. I don't want it, I don't wish it, I desire it. Yeah. Because that's that passion. And then in step 5, it's basically about letting all of that go again. Yeah. I call it connecting to the quantum field. Yeah. Connecting to all that is. So all that work that I love from Joe Dispenza, describing what is the quantum field, that no thing, no one, no time, and surrendering. Yeah. And in that state of surrender, we always receive the right information if we set the right intention. So I think a lot of what we are teaching ourselves and children is to be more intentional in what we do. And for that, we need that consciousness, the stillness. If we're running a rabbit race and a hamster wheel thing, how are we going to consciously create? Yeah. So that's what I love about teaching children in Joyful Kids, is I'm basically teaching them how to be conscious creators and deal with all the challenges and the stress and the emotions, because they're human. It's always going to be there.
And I think the good thing will be that, you were talking about a yacht in the Caribbean, but I don't think children really want that.
Well, maybe a child that is, I don't know, there's a great incentive of taking children that have faced physical abuse at home on boats, on sailing boats, and taking them through something like the Caribbean because of water. I mean, these are children who have, gone through horrible stuff. So, but then there are others who take them pony riding. Yeah. But then everyone who's listening, I bet, knows a kid that they could listen to, that they could give some appreciation. I mean, it starts out with giving a kid a heartfelt compliment, saying, hey, you look really awesome today. I notice how powerful you are. You're a really smart cookie. What are you into? What are your goals in life? And I think it's these connections where so many of us are always waiting for something to happen, and then we're going to do it. And I used to be the same. I used to think I have to have, millions of followers and millions of euros on my account before I can do the things that I want to do, but it's not true. I can help every kid that I face, because I'll never know what ripple effect that will have.
Powerful, Joy. This is great. And you were just saying for you that's like a normal sentence, like and then you channel to when you are 2 or 3, and actually you just did it with me to practice if I would be 5-year-old boy. Is that what channeling really is? So what is channeling for you?
I think channeling to me is the ability to tune into any information that I choose to, and to be able to bring that information in its clearest, most neutral form, with as little filter and projections of my own on it.
But is that like a gift you have, or is it like that we all have the
ability to train it?
Yeah, but it's like you were saying with the radio channels.
We're all channeling something. I mean, some of us are channeling our own mother. Some of us are channeling the government. Other of us are channeling some corporation. We're all constantly channeling. The question is, what are you channeling?
Yeah.
And the basic tips that I give people who want to start, becoming more conscious of what's going on inside of themselves is start noticing what kind of music you're listening to. What are you feeding your brain with? And what are you often feeding your brain with totally unconsciously? Yeah. So take
Not
TV.
Even with music, with all the media and all, of course.
And don't get me wrong, I love Netflix too. But I usually don't have a long concentration span. So an episode is usually good for me. 1.5 hours of film, no. But, a lot of people fall asleep while watching the TV.
Yeah.
And so you've got to just know that while you are sleeping, your unconscious mind is wide awake.
Yeah.
And that got me into all of this work that Roy and I have been doing, is really using the power of brain training. Telling people, you have a choice, and you've maybe been told that your brain is just what it is and there's nothing you can do, you can't change, and all your programming. Yes, and you have a choice, and you can now make a change by feeding your brain with good stuff. And really, like sleep with your favorite meditation, put it on repeat. Record your own audio of your favorite affirmations. Tell yourself the story of that moment in the future that you want to create, and keep listening to it. And because the brain, the subconscious, doesn't know the difference between reality and your imagination, you're creating it. And I think that's the fun part.
But if I hear you and I
love your butt.
Sorry?
I love, because you always say but.
Oh, but. Oh, there's a but. Oh, sorry for that. My English isn't that mastered. So.
No, and I think it's a Dutch thing.
Oh, it's a Dutch thing.
I've noticed that a lot of my Dutch clients have this but, and then I always tell them there are no buts other than 2 T's.
Okay.
Because with a but, you cancel out
but
what you've just said.
But I think, to be honest, it's like, as you say, that's our but. But I will replace it for
So it's
Exactly. So. Now I'm really focused on that word. So you are like a great radio, I think. You can hear a lot of channels. So, but I don't know how my life will be, because I think I will zap all day and listen to all kind of characters and listen to people from the past, maybe people from the future. I don't know. So how do you live your life when you're such a good receiver, transistor?
By having really clear boundaries, really strong boundaries. And I'll be back to what I said about intention. When we connect to whatever we connect to, say we connect to the quantum field, we dial our radio in, we've got to say, what are we looking for? So I set my intention when I do channelings or when we do a podcast. Basically, any moment that I am consciously aware that I'm making a choice, I will set an intention where I'll say something like, even if I don't know how, to co-create a fabulous podcast that inspires people to connect to their higher self, yada, yada. All I do know is, it is so now, and I'm fulfilled. Yeah. And then I go ahead and I say, I delete all that could stop me. I download everything I need. Thank you. And then I say, so it is, so it shall be, or something better. And then I let go. I used to prepare, I've done so many trainings just like you, I'm sure, business trainings and speech trainings, and then you're given all these concepts and all these steps you need to do and all these preparational work for things. And I used to do that. It used to really stress me out. And I'm glad I did, because I learned a lot. And now I know I don't need any of that, because I just set my intention, I let go, and it happens. And I just would love more people to know how effortless that is, rather than working so friggin' hard and struggling so much against something rather than working with it.
Yeah. I always, that's like a ritual in this podcast. People, what's their morning routine or morning ritual, I like to call it, because that sounds more fun. Do you have like a morning ritual?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
It's like my religion.
Okay.
So my ideal morning ritual is to wake up around 5:20.
Okay.
That's when my body wakes me up. Then the moment I notice my brain is awake, I start my conscious breath work. So I do a type of Wim Hof breath, and I do at least 3 rounds. I set my intention for the day. I resist the temptation to get on my phone. I get up, brush my teeth, do some oil pulling. I always use coconut oil. I do some oil pulling, get my dog, and then go out for a hike where I walk for about 45 minutes up a mountain that's nearby. It's gorgeous because there's a stupa there, a Buddhist, sort of temple thing.
Okay.
I walk around there, do my Ho'oponopono, just let go of the day.
Okay.
The night maybe. And then I go do a river plunge. So I'm really lucky to I'm looking after this little garden right by a very cold mountain river. Wow. So I plunge in there. I'm working towards my 2 minutes, not there yet, because it's like, oh my goodness. I'm getting there. And then I go home, wake my daughter. We then have a little session in front of our biocharger that's frequency medicine. And we started the habit for a year now to meditate in the morning. So it's
with her together?
With her. So she and I, we sit there and we have 7-8 minutes of silence. Then we hop into the car and then school, and then the day starts.
Ah, what a great ritual. Every morning. This is so great. And do you have like an evening ritual?
Yeah, it's the breathing.
Yeah.
The breathing, and I make sure that I get off my screens. I never take my phone, to bed. That's the big one. Temptation is there every day.
Yeah.
I'm like, but one more go, right? But no. And yeah, I love reading. I'm very old-fashioned. I love books. I like having it in my hand. I don't like Kindles. I like having it and holding it. And I read until I notice I'm really tired. Set my intention for the night to rest and recharge and wake up feeling amazing. If I have some challenge I'm dealing with or a question that I have, then I'll give that to my highest self and say, bring it to me in dreams. When I wake up, I know. That's it.
Sounds like, well, let's talk about the books then, because you mentioned you've read and you're reading a lot.
Yeah, I read about a book a week.
Yeah, well, wow.
I love that.
So if you have to choose 3 books that gave you a lot of inspiration in your life that are really, powerful for you, what
I'd say the Magdalene manuscript, which is also a channeled book about the life of Mary Magdalene. I found that very, very powerful.
And when did you read that in your life?
I read that about 3 or 4 years ago. Okay. Then I'm going to have Louise Hay.
Oh, wait, sorry.
Okay.
Because what for you was the biggest lesson in that book?
It was understanding a lot about myself, why I had so many weird memories or resonances with the life of Jesus and this whole Mary Magdalene story. And then also the kind of being a woman I have found beautiful and tricky. It would be tricky if we were on a planet. It would be easy if we were on a planet with just women. But since we have men here too, that's kind of not what I remember from past lives. I remember more Venus sort of thing.
Yeah.
So Mary Magdalene helped me understand how, in this dimension, we need to work together. We need to make this work.
Yeah.
Male, female needs to be on one path and create bridges. So,
but I can imagine that after reading that book, that you maybe thought in a session with your own, you think, okay, maybe I don't know if it worked that way, but I can ask some questions to her or feel,
Totally. I took it a step further.
Okay. She's here.
I connected to her using the Rykov effect. So, that psychologist.
Yeah.
So I did a Rykov and downloaded the resources and the talents, the skills, and I think it was helpful from Mary Magdalene. And I did it in my mind. For me, it worked. And what I noticed is that it really activated that, that feminine divine, that kind of priestess sort of, that softness. So that's what that book did for me. I would recommend it.
Yeah? Okay, the second book, Louise Hay, you said.
Louise Hay was kind of the beginning book when I was 17 years old. And it was, I think, Heal Your Life. So where she shows the connection between emotions and thoughts and organs and diseases. And that was my Bible. I would look up everything.
Okay, so if you felt something like, okay.
Yeah, or noticed something in others. So it was first, noticing for yourself and then being able to read other people. So that was a really helpful one. And then for today, I'm going to quote the book actually that my husband, Martina, wrote called Tiefseelentauchen, deep soul diving. I think they exist in Dutch too.
Yeah.
And I really loved that because it gives, for me, it felt so true about how our souls reincarnate, how we choose all of this. It just brought a lot of peace and understanding to me.
And you read the book before you met him, or?
I did.
Okay.
That's interesting, right?
That's really interesting. Yeah, that's great. So, well, I'm just curious. If you don't want to tell, it's all good because it's maybe a private thing. But I'm really now. I want to know how you've met each other.
And you don't know the story?
No.
Oh my God! How much time have we got? I'll do the short, quick thing. Okay. I was running a business in Salzburg, a beauty business, and I had 2 boys who were at that time 10 and 8 or something like that, 10 and 12 or something like that, and a newborn, Grace. And I was freshly divorced from my first husband and in a relationship with another guy, the father of the newborn, and it was not going well. And I was like, oh my goodness, what am I doing? This is like, life is not how I had planned this all. So I went to a psychic and I wanted to know stuff. And the moment she saw me, she spread the cards and she said, oh my God, you're going to meet the love of your life. And I was like, no. I've got such a mess already. No, not interested. Tell me about my business. And anyway, she kept going back to this. And I said, okay, well, I give up. I had a friend with me and I said, you write down. And she took notes. I still have that piece of paper. And then she gave me her prophecy. And her prophecy was, she said, you've signed up for a course. And I said, that is true. And she said, you have to go to this course. And I said, of course I'm going to go paid. She said, no, it's really important because at this course, you're going to meet the love of your life. And I was like, oh God. And I said, okay, tell me more. How would I recognize this person? And she said, well, it's going to be like 2 magnets. You're just going to feel this attraction and it's just going to be like that. And I said, okay. And I remember my intuition telling me this woman is lying right now.
Okay.
Because I remember looking at her and saying, but it's not the lead wolf, is it? And she said, no.
Okay, but
right?
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, but whatever. So I got there and and the funny thing about this story is that, Roy is called Roy, I'm called Joy, and the place that we met at was Oi, so O-Y. So what are the likes of that, right? And yeah, I took part in that course. I loved the training, the Omega healing. I was totally in love with the technique and everything. I had no intentions of being together with what I considered a guru because I saw the other hundreds of women drooling at his feet. That was not my interest, right? No. But yeah, here we go.
No, not here we go. This is how it started because then you were there and
and then at some point there's in these workshops there's the time where you can ask questions, right? Not a time I would normally raise my hand, but there was something I say bigger than me that suddenly had me getting out of my chair and standing in this room of 350 people, and I was given a microphone and I was like, what am I doing? So I asked some random question I cannot remember anymore. We have it recorded. And then I was just standing there with my microphone. He was quite far away. And then this sort of energy took over. And I was like, oh, no, oh, God, sort of. And then, I don't know, he answered my question. And I sat down and I was really rattled. And one of my best friends was next to me. And she said, oh, my God, did you see that? Did you notice that? And I was like, I have no idea. So I was in total denial because I was like, no. But then in the course of the next 2 days, it was like just one synchronicity after the other. He would start telling stories about all his disastrous love affairs and that his worst star sign was Scorpios. What am I? A Scorpio, of course. So it was just so funny that I said, okay, at the end of the workshop, I then walked up to him and I said, can I ask you a question? He said, sure. And I said, okay, so I'm at this point in my life where I'm thinking I am now literally crashing the next relationship. And I'm wondering, what the hell am I doing? So what would you advise me to do if I'm in a relationship that I know is going nowhere, but I don't want to repeat this thing? What do I have to do? And he said, oh, that's simple. You just go home and you're going to be your most loving self. That's all you have to do. And I said, okay, I can do that. And I was committed. So I went home, and at that time, that guy, and I love him, I bless him, really. But he was so triggering me that anything, and it just, every breath would piss me off. But I was like, no. And I stuck it through, and it took 10 days. And for 10 days, I was just loving. And at the end of the 10th day, I was working late, and I came home, and he was watching the kids. And he welcomed me with this glass of red wine. He knew my love language, right? So he had this glass of red wine, and he said, we need to talk. And I was like, oh, it's happening, right? And then he said, I've been thinking, and I've realized I deserve to be with the woman for who I am, the dream man. So my question to you is, am I your dream man? And honesty is a big thing for me. I was like, I'm really sorry. No.
Wow.
And then he left. And that was it. It was the most, in that moment, the most easeful, most loving, fair breakup, because it was just right.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then 2 days later, or I think the next day, I sent Roy an email and said, fancy this happened. And then I remember him saying, well, if you like, and then our relationship could now morph from a professional relationship into something else. And then we started having long distance emails, and yeah, the rest of the story unfolded.
What a great story. What a great story. Well, talking about this, the power of your heart, is that like the same as the intuition, or how would you?
No, I'd say the power of the heart is you can measure that. So I like, if you compare the power of the brain and the heart's power electromagnetically, but also electrically, is thousands of times stronger. Mm-hmm. So the signaling that we should have in a body, if we have a healthy system and we want to be these conscious creators, is that the heart is leading the way. So here, that's why the heart's desires are important. Here we know what we really want, what we desire. Yeah. And then once we know what we want, we need to go to the computer, up into the brain, and ask the brain, what is the most loving, wise, best way to get this heart's desire? And then the brain is going to give us ideas. And then some of us will run with that. But that's not going to be that great then if I check the idea back into the heart, because isn't it true that the brain will sometimes give us crazy ass ideas that are highly dysfunctional and destructive, right?
Absolutely.
So we need to kind of bounce back and forth until we get a solution, a strategy that the heart says yes to. And then the moment we have a strategy that the heart gives a full-hearted yes to, we go into our gut brain. We have a brain there too. It's as big as a cat's brain. And there we say, okay, now give me the courage. Now give me the motivation. Now give me those action steps. So now go do. Mm-hmm. And if I look at how I used to be, I would go heart, gut. I'd feel something and do it. I'm not always wise. Right? No. And then we have some people who will do heart, brain, but they'll never do anything. So it's really just becoming aware of that and saying, okay, I feel it here. Then let's go in the brain and say, okay, what if I knew? What if I did know the best way? And then go back into the heart, say, is this good? Heart says, yeah, babe. And then go do. So that's the difference that I would make. And intuition I think, starts even higher up. Yes, it'll work with the brain, especially when you're asking what's the best way. Mm-hmm. So I love how Tony Robbins says when people tell him you can do A or B. You say, come on, if it's A or B, there'll be at least C, D, E, F as well there too. So we need to train our brain to be open again. And that's where this playful and intuitive wisdom can really help us.
And what do you think? I ask this because I'm really into the Course in Miracles now and for quite some days. But sometimes I really have this error in my head thinking, what is ego? Where is it good for? Because I want to know.
I think ego makes you care.
Yeah.
Ego helps you survive. Ego will help you push through. Ego will most likely help you stand up and not take BS from others. Because it's also where pride is. Mm-hmm. And pride is not necessarily a bad thing. No, exactly. Pride is also linked to knowing your own value and knowing, what will I accept and tolerate and what not. So I think we spend a lot of decades fighting the ego, and I think we need to make it our friend. It's just a little part of us. So I say, the more the merrier. Come on the bus, the magic bus.
Don't drive.
Heart drives. Yeah. Intuition is right there next to it. Higher self is watching over it. And then in the back of the bus, you can have all your past lives, your kindergarten of inner children, and all the rest. But you've got to be driving.
Yeah. And you were talking about the gut. I think this is a good way of that's why a lot of people do have emotional feelings with eating. Don't you think? Mm-hmm. Because then there's something over there, and
food is so easily accessible as a drug to do all kinds of things for us.
Yeah.
You can numb yourself out with food. You can console yourself, comfort yourself. You punish yourself with food. That's why I love my program, Sleep Your Fat Away, because it's all about really trusting our own body's wisdom again. because everybody's so different. Every body is so different, and every body likes different things. So what might be right for my body might be awful for yours, and what works for you gives me the hives. I don't know. So what I love teaching people there is really that body's intuition. Because if you take 2-year-olds and you give them a full display of healthy food, they will automatically choose what they need. And they've done tests on this, right? So we do know, but we lose connection, or we get distracted, or we get programmed by all kinds of fun corporations who put stuff in our food, and it's stacked against us.
Yeah.
But the big hope that I have for this time right now that we're in is that the veil is gone. If you want to see now, you can see.
What is sorry, my English
wait,
isn't
it
that
used
good.
to be, this veil that used to be talked about. It's the separation between 3D and 5D, and you've got to be this ascended master until you get there. But it's there.
Yeah.
I think that's the glory of this time, is that the Band-Aid has been ripped off. You can see, So now is the time where it's easiest to trust, because you're going to get the signals. But it's going to be maybe the most courageous act that you can take, is to stand up for what your truth is and to really know your truth.
So it will be like a really rough time, but we're in a good time, you say?
I say that we are in one of the most... one of the times that gives us the biggest opportunity for change and for connection and for collaboration, and to show that we are really humankind, right? We're kind and we're human. And when we learn to instead of fighting against each other, having all these ego trips of I don't know, competition and jealousy and rivalry, if we were to find the common demeanor and start building bridges, then we're amazing. You see, what we have as humans that artificial intelligence does not have and never will have is creativity. We create life, and artificial intelligence can't do that. No. So I think that's our chance.
Yeah, I talked with Mo Gadat. He was here. I don't know if you read his book, but it's really about the scariest part of AI, but also how, what you are saying now, how we are good. Well,
let's feed AI with good stuff.
Yeah.
Make sure our feeds are positive. We're talking about the stuff that really matters. And the more of us do it, the stronger we will be.
Yeah. Talking about feeding again, I want to, because that's in Sleep Your Fat Away, and maybe you can explain that thing, because that gave me a lot of inspiration. You say before you eat,
de-stress.
Yeah, take a moment.
That's right. So you just take your index finger and then you tap this point between your nose and your lips.
It's really like the EFT thing.
That's right. It's the EFT point. It's a governing vessel. It's a strong acupuncture point. And by tapping this point, which is very helpful to just in general de-stress, you are allowing the body to de-stress before you put more stuff in.
Yeah. So every time you do you always do that before you eat?
I might slip up every now and again.
Yeah.
But most of the time, yes. Yeah. So I do two things. One is I tap this point and I just take 2 breaths. It doesn't have to be a whole show in a restaurant, right? You can do it very elegantly too. Yeah. You just kind of massage the point and you just let it all go. And then I'll just say thank you. I'll say thank you for the food. You see, gratitude gets us into a state of coherence. And what we want is whatever we're going to put into our body, that is easy to digest, that we eat consciously, we eat slowly. But sometimes we're eating while we're doing other things. We're maybe driving. We're no conscious eaters. And if we do that, you see, it takes 20 minutes for the brain to receive the message that the stomach is full. And how much can you eat in 20 minutes? I used to be able to like 4 bars of chocolate in 20 minutes. Easy. So it's really, slowing it down. It's the same thing. Yeah. It's basically the same. But just applying it to a different area. Because I used to get so annoyed with all these, all these dogmas about food and all these trends. Can I eat animals? Yes, no. What about keto and no fat? Yes, fat. Well, it's confusing.
That's what it is. And like you said before, people are different.
Well, and it's not working. If you look at the amount of diets we have and the amount of, and how many sick people do we have? Yeah. Because people are no longer listening to what their bodies need. We're not moving enough. It's all that. We know.
What are your own desires nowadays?
Oh, my biggest desire is to help philanthropists, because I want to work top down. I figured this out just mathematically. The biggest impact I can have is by helping those that are already doing good. Because if I do that and they become even better doing good, right? Because how am I going to make sure that every kid on this planet has clean food, clean water? I can't do that alone.
No.
But there are already so many of us out there. So it's just, let's connect. Let me help you. I love helping people just get rid of mind stuff and sabotage and tune into their intuition. Because once they've got it, they don't need me. And so it's really helping people to help themselves.
That's a great ambition. And you're really busy with that now.
Well, I'm in Amsterdam right now doing personal healing sessions again, which I hadn't done in this form. I haven't done for 10 years. No. So I used to do them, one-on-ones, but with like an entrepreneur in China. Yeah. And now I decided, no, I'm going to do a whole week. And it's one after the other, just connecting people to their highest self. And I'm just having so much fun. It's so magical to just, I get to be in that energy all day. I get to meet all these high frequencies and have conversations and see those smiles on people's faces. Oh, I have the best job in the world.
Great. What do you think? And I talked about this with Roy because I talk about this with every guest. But in the whole quantum multiverse theory, what do you think of death?
What I think of quantum...
No, what do you think of death? What do you... No, death, like...
death. Yeah, sorry, that. I was like, who put that? Well, death in the sense of us leaving our physical bodies, it decomposing. I believe we become again what we always are, which is a spark of energy, a soul that is then going to choose again. Mm-hmm. And we're going to keep reliving situations and experiences until we've expanded to our highest potential. And then I could imagine that once we've reached a certain frequency that we shift dimensions.
Yeah, because when we are all like growing and
it's like a high. I imagine it like a skyscraper, right? Mm-hmm. Depending on where you are in frequency, you'll go up and up and up and up and up and up in level, and until you're just basically we're all one anyway. So yeah. I think it's really complicated with our conscious mind to try and put these fabulous things into. It's infinite, right?
Yeah. Okay, but there will be a time when, Joy Martina, as you were saying here,
is going to be gone. Yeah.
So, how do you want to be remembered?
Oh, I want to leave a legacy of joy. I want to be remembered as someone who just had a really joyful impact. That'll do.
A legacy.
So I don't want a gravestone. I've decided I just want a plaque that just says joy, and I want it to be on a beautiful oak tree somewhere. That's what I would like.
Legacy.
And I know
joy.
that because my daughter asked me that same question 3 weeks ago. I was like, all right, are you planning something? I was just like, no.
Wow. Well, then we're back where we all started, right? with Joy again. Thank you so much for your time, Joy.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure meeting you. And I hope to, meet you again. I hope you will come back.
Let's do lots of good stuff.
Holland. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ach, nou, dit was echt top. De zon die schijnt als een malle. Ik hoop dat je het een beetje kon volgen. Ik wil alweer mijn excuses aanbieden voor mijn Engels. Maar ik heb het in ieder geval zelf begrepen. Ik hoop jij ook. Laat vooral iets achter in de comments. Vergeet niet alle leuke dingen te doen als subscriben. En zend deze ook weer de wereld in. Dat is wel echt de kracht die Joy me gegeven heeft. Van gewoon verspreiden die handel. Doe dat. Tot de volgende. Zonnegroet. Hoi.